Hello and welcome back to Building on a Budget Models. I'm Thomas and today I'm going to be building the Porsche 959 in 1/24th scale by Tamiya. Now, I'm part of a Porsche group build on Instagram in August, so that's why I'm doing this. First thing to do with the body is to remove the mould seams, which are pretty obvious because this is quite a smooth, curvaceous body, I would say. Especially as cars from the 1980s go, but then, that's part of the Porsche trademark, isn't it? Using some UMP sanding sticks for these, moving down to the smoother grit to really make them disappear. Important to be careful around here because you don't want to sand away some of the vents. Pretty happy with that so far. Then gave it 3 coats of grey primer from Halfords. Also worth looking around for any mould seams there. I gave this a little wet sand as well to make it smooth, before then giving it 4 coats of Vauxhall Burgundy Red, also from Halfords. I was inspired by this version I found online, which I believe once belonged to the Qatari royal family. Here it is after a few coats, bit of orange peel there, but I wet sanded this down before adding the single external decal, this Porsche badge. The engine cover and spoiler should be seamless, which is annoying that they've done it in such a way. It's important to make sure that the join is as smooth as possible, so here I'm using some extra thin cement. Then, because the spoiler has a little flex in it, you want to push it down slightly to line up those joints as best as possible while it's curing. Now, I then gave this 3 coats of the same grey primer as the bodywork and started to sand away at those mould seams. Hopefully the seams would be filled with the primer, and then I would give it another light coat just to cover over where I'd sanded it away. I was pretty happy with this, but obviously giving it another spray will let me know whether they've gone or not. Looks better. I gave that another coat of primer, and here it was when it was coated in the burgundy paint and a clear coat, and that's pretty good if you ask me. The engine is the fantastically successful twin-turbo flat 6 used in the 956 and 962 Porsche Le Mans cars. Here's a real one. I used a mix 4:1, I believe, of matte red and orange for this powder coat on the top here. In this case I used Revell Aqua paints. The rest of it is painted in aluminium from Revell as well. Gearbox was done in semi-gloss black, and then I attached more parts in aluminium. These sections on the side have Porsche embossed onto it. So I went over those with some panelline accent just to pick out the details. Pretty happy with that. This was done in silver, matte black and a little bit of gold. And then the rest of the belts were also done in matte black. It's important to get these frameworks all in the right place, as it may cause an issue when mounting it into the chassis later on. These are parts for the rear wheels to attach. Make sure you get them the right way round. They look very similar but are slightly different. There's a little distribution cap here, which is a nice feature. You could add some wires to this, however I realised that once the engine was inside you wouldn't notice any of these parts as they'd be hidden. The disc brakes were painted in Revell silver and semi-gloss black. Polycap goes on the inside of those, and then add a little bit of extra thin cement to glue those onto the rear axles. Then there's a little suspension there which fits in quite snugly. This section here was painted in silver and then sprayed with some Tamiya smoke to give it a sort of weathered look. And the chassis here was painted in Tamiya silver leaf. I realised that some of this probably should have been painted in body colour, but unfortunately the Tamiya instructions aren't very clear on this, as they assume that you're going to paint the car silver. So be careful to know whether it should be silver or whether it should be body colour. Front axle builds up from the bottom. You put in these shock absorbers and then the bottom of the kind of wheel section housing here. And then the front drive system. There's a little bit of flash around here. And then the front brakes are similar to the rears. Added the little controlling arm so that the steering does work. And most of this will be hidden, so make sure to get it all right before closing it up. This section goes on top, although the middle should be silver, so I removed that to paint it before gluing it down properly, as you can see here. Then the exhaust system goes at the back. The car was given 4 coats of gloss clear, also from Halfords, and then I wet sanded it and polished it using Kent Models Hyper Polish. Now, I wasn't happy with the fitment of the engine cover here at the back, so I removed the pins, which weren't a very good fit, and added 2 neodymium magnets using some superglue gel here, and then also added 2 more underneath. Unfortunately, I forgot to film that bit, but you'll just have to take my word for it. Here's how a real one should look. I looked at this sort of sections here where there are 2 yellow plastic clips, and I realised I had some spare yellow decals left over from a previous build, which fit the job quite well. You could paint these in if you wanted. The light housings were done in the same burgundy as the rest of the body, and then the interiors were painted in silver. I then used some Revell contact clear. This is like a sort of PVA glue to fit the light lenses in. These had a black trim around the outside using some permanent marker, like so. Did the same job for the rear light bar, then coloured in the rest from behind using some Tamiya clear red and clear orange. The back had already been painted in silver, and I think that's pretty effective. That was also glued into place using contact clear. There it is with the engine cover in place. Now there is a correct and an incorrect way to fit the lights, so have a look at the instructions very carefully and the numbers of the parts to make sure you get this right. These were plugged into place using a little bit of foam safe superglue, so the fit should be nice and snug. Now this vent on the rear is done in semi-gloss black, and I used a little bit of foam safe superglue to fit it into place. There's a little 959 written at the top, so make sure you get that the right way around. Like so. Pretty happy with how it looks under this evening light. It's a pretty smooth paint job, if you ask me. I improved the accuracy of this section here by using some matte grey and also some aluminium tape for some little binders. Painted along the edge for that orange strip with a paint pen, and I think it looks a lot more like the real thing than the Tamiya instructions suggest. As always, look at examples of the real model. I found that hull red gave the best finish with this sort of reddy brown colour. Then I used some middle grey, white and stone grey for the rest of the seats, and then they were all painted in semi-gloss clear. The dashboard is exactly the same as the one in the G Model 911 I made last year, except this car only came in left-hand drive. There's one decal for the dash, and I also added some white paint pen details for some of the switches. There's Porsche writing on the steering wheel as well, and that all goes in very nicely. There's some extra details on the interior, such as speakers at the back, gear stick, handbrake and so forth. I also did the carpet in a rust brown, as I felt it looked more like carpet than the hull red colour. As I said before, this car only came left-hand drive, so there's only a slot for the pedals on that side. Nice feature is that the armrests are separately moulded. Now I decided to do some seat belts, so for this I used this 2mm black ribbon, which I cut to length like so. I then had some leftover photo etch buckles for the section that attaches them to the side of the car. So once that was in place, I then added a little bit of superglue gel, and as you can see there, that looks pretty good. Once it was secure, I then added the seat and kind of threaded the seat belt around the sort of shoulder section. There we are. I had some resin seatbelt sockets which I painted black and then did the top using some red paint pen, which I then glued into place with a little bit of super glue as well. There aren't rear belts unfortunately, but I think the front ones there add a little bit of nice detail. Then this slots into place without the need for any glue. I think that interior replicates the real one pretty well. Hull red, in my opinion, looked better than the recommended colours Tamiya suggested. Now I did the window trims in semi-gloss black, and then make sure to test fit the glass here before putting it in. The sides and rear ones go from the inside and the front windscreen goes in from the outside. Slot the interior in place using a little bit of extra thin Tamiya glue. Now the wheels are slightly fatter at the back than they are at the front. These were all painted in silver leaf from Tamiya. There is information in the instructions about which way the tyre grip should go to help you get the right ones in the right place, and the left ones in their right place as well. I decided not to do any weathering to the tyres, however I did add a little bit of black Tamiya weathering powder to the brake discs just to make them look a bit more used. Mating the body to the chassis is a little bit of a challenge. You want to start from the back and try to prise it around the bottoms of the door section here. And then there are two pins at the front which need to go underneath the bumper. I did the window trim of the front window here from the outside using some matte black, and then fitted the rear view mirror using some foam safe superglue. Make sure that that was really nice and cured before fitting the window, also with foam safe superglue. Again with foam safe superglue, these windscreen wipers, and there is a correct way for these to go around. The one with the slight curve goes on the driver's side here, and the more straight one goes on top on the passenger side. There's a single wing mirror here, which I used some aluminium tape for the mirror section, and then I used some foam safe super glue on that, holding it in place to make sure it cured. The rear number plate and the front number plate are optional, but I did those in black and then added the provided number plate. If you want to use the 959 symbol, then paint those in silver or white. And here is the finished car. I'm very happy with this. This is a really nice, simple kit, and it creates an iconic car of the 80s. As for my BOAB score, this kit was £15, brand new. For a Tamiya kit, that's 5 out of 5. Assembly is generally good and the instructions are clear. However, there is that horrible seam on the engine cover, and getting the bodywork on is a little bit of a challenge, so 3 out of 5. For accuracy, externally it's very good, but misses a few interior details such as speakers on the front doors, so I'd say 4 out of 5. This is a high quality kit, although not quite up to standard of modern Tamiya kits. I'd say 4 out of 5. For legacy, this is an iconic supercar of the 1980s, uses their successful engine from their Le Mans winning cars. However, I wouldn't say that it quite has the motorsport success of, say, the 911, so I'd say 4 out of 5. Total score of 20 out of 25. Let me know if you agree down below. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks very much for watching. Please do like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.